Alright guys, so just wanted to make a quick little video over here just announcing that Koyanskaya has come back on the JP version of the game, or not announcing. That's, if I say announcing, it's kind of like, I'm like, yes, me, ZTL, basically Lasengo is announcing that she's coming back. But no, just informing those of you that maybe don't play the JP version of the game, if you're on the NA version, being like, hey, Koyanskaya comes back around this time. And also wanted to make like my 8th PSA like announcement, being like, guys, if you want to get into JP, now is a really dummy good time to go ahead and do that. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about in today's video. But before we begin, if you have not already, make sure to leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel for that sweet daily FGO content. Also, I stream every weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, although it's probably going to be normal for this week. Next week, it's going to be, like, obviously, like, Christmas and stuff. I'm going to be on vacation, so I might stream when I can. You know, I'm not promising anything, but I'm saying that I will try to stream when I can. But, you know, kind of have the whole value family thing, you know, value them over, you know, getting a stream done. I'm pretty sure everybody understands. I don't think I need to, like, rationalize, be like, I just want to spend time with family, man. And people are going to be like, no, you're not allowed to do that or something. But, you know what, if you feel that way, drop it in the comments. I'll get a good kick out of it. But anyway, why it's actually a really good time to go ahead and start jumping into this game. So first and foremost, like, if you just don't play JP for whatever reason, you know, I think it's just fun to kind of have as a side account, and also to kind of test out these newer servants, so that way you kind of have like a year or two of experience playing with certain servants to be like, you know what, maybe this guy actually isn't for me. Like, I thought they were really cool initially, but I got to play around with them and I don't really like X, Y, or Z about them. But right now is a particularly great time to start getting into the game, because one, Lost Belt 7 is supposed to drop, I believe, on Christmas, like once this banner over here actually goes away. But two, it's actually literally the banners that are just out right now. The fact that Koyanskaya, Oberon, and Nero Bride are all out right now, and Nero Bride's only going to be out for like another day when this video goes up, you know, that's kind of like also a big deal. These servants are all like really strong for like the beginning of any account. The fact that like Oberon can give you 70% NP and can just giga gas up the amount of damage you're able to do, especially with, you know, combining him with Black Grail or something. For those of you guys that don't know, Black Grail and his third skill actually do stack, and it gives you just absurd levels of damage. And they gave out like a free 5-star CE with the last anniversary. Like, they gave out like, I think the two major options that you could have picked was like Kaleidoscope or Black Grail. And if you pick Black Grail, then you're just absolutely cooking with Oberon, right? But not only is he out, and he kind of just allows you to farm those insanely chunky 1 million nodes, but you also have Koyanskaya out, right? And Koyanskaya, I would say, is both simultaneously like the most like starter like account friendly, but also the least starter account friendly person you could have. And I'll explain. So like Castoria or like Scotty, they're really good if you happen to pull like another good looping servant, right? Or even say like Nero Bride, because Nero Bride is basically just a baby version of Castoria, right? If you want to use her to help people loop. But you still need to have somebody, right? Like, you can't just pull up with like Scotty and a bunch of random quick servants. You need to have some decent guys at some pretty decent NP levels, right? Like, you gotta have people like at least Parvati, or at least Berserker Lancelot, or even better like Voyager or Dante's, like some of these better servants, right, to actually get the job done. Castoria is a little bit more lenient because just art servants are a bit better at actually looping their NP, but the same thing can be said. Like, you can't just farm with like the normal like other Saber Nero over here. Like, it's just not going to work. I mean, when Castoria dropped on NA, we tried to like brute force our way through like using servants that shouldn't be able to farm, and I got her to farm, but keep in mind, I have a maximum broken Kaleidoscope on my NA account as well. Like, I don't think it's a very practical setup to do to like brute force them into farming, right? It's just not practical, right? Like, you still want people like Ibuki or Space Ishtar or Summer Kama, or even someone like Muramasa, right, can be really good. Zenobia can be really good. Emiya can be really good. But you still need like actually pretty decent servants. The different thing between Koyanskaya and like the Buster meta, especially if you get really lucky playing JP right now, is that not only can you have her, but if you get lucky and also get Oberon, you can kind of brute force your way through like most of the like normal nodes you're going to want to go ahead and do, because Oberon gives you so much damage, and you really just need like any decent battery servant to get it done, right? Because, you know, Koyanskaya can take wave 1 for you, and then you really just got to focus on your main DPS guy taking out the second and third wave, right? Now, depending on the setup, it might require you to get like their append skill done, or you might need like a certain starting charge CE to get it done, right? But given like how many like CEs you might get lucky enough to pull, like God forbid you pull like Kaleidoscope, you're absolutely just cooking when you start your account. But if you're able to get like any of the 50% starting charge ones, or, you know, we get like a new event that starts in like, I don't know, like a couple of weeks, like after the Lost Belt 7 drops, you're kind of just cooking, right? Like you're kind of just cooking it up. But the reason I'm like advising people, like I'm always advising, is I think it's really good to just not even like play JP seriously, but just kind of come over and start testing out some of these units so you get a better idea of what's going to be coming in the next like 2 years, right? You know, not being unprepared for like some servant, and then maybe summoning on a servant that after you get them on like NA, you're like, oh man, I really don't actually enjoy this servant very much. Let me play around with him for a little bit. Or even being able to play around with someone like Oberon and Koyanskaya on JP and really get a feel for what kind of setups are going to be good for you over on the NA version. And that way you kind of know what you got to do with whatever servants you have in your box, right? It's just kind of my recommendation, especially because whenever are these two going to be on raid up at the same time? Like this is like just a murderer's row of like insane banners. Like you have Premier Buster like farming lady here that can also be your farmer. Same thing for Oberon. He can farm the nodes for you, especially because he's a pretender, and you know that's pretty good for being able to take out like the knight class people. And then he as well also lets you brute force anything in the game pretty much. And then also if you're like, you know what, I don't care about any of that stuff, let me try out some arts farming, because for whatever reason I didn't get Castoria over on the NA version of the game, but I can at least try that out with like baby Nero Bride over here, all right? That's just kind of like my advice as soon as I saw something like this. I was like, you know what, it's actually not a bad time to just jump in here and try to get them. You might miss out on Oberon because he is leaving on the 23rd, or I believe because of how the date changes work, that should be Christmas Eve for us, I believe, over here in the West. If you're playing over here, you know, don't tell them that you're doing that, you know? Don't tell them that you're in America playing the JP version, you know? Don't tell them you're doing all that. But it might leave on like Christmas Eve, so you might miss him. But Koyanskaya is a little bit more forgiving. You know, she's going to be here until New Year, so you have some time to like play through the game, get like some of the story farmed up, level up a couple of servants, especially because like they're always just lowering the AP needed for like the main quest and everything to make it to where you can just blitz through the entirety of the game. Remember that people like Casco are going to give you a whole bunch of like EXP cards in Babylonia, and Morgan's going to give you like 100 million QP. So you also have that stuff to look forward to as you're playing through the story. But I don't know, just some like thoughts that I had when I like saw this banner go up. I was like, you know, this is another one of those really good times that you might be able to get super lucky and walk away with either Koyanskaya, Oberon, or both, and then you can just cook over here on the JP version of the game. Because keep in mind, I know I get a lot of comments from people being like, well, like, I don't know, man, like, I don't know if I can like dedicate a whole bunch of time to play JP. And I'm like, I'm not saying you do that, but just remember when, what is her name? Arkui came out, a lot of people just moved over to the JP version of the game because they're like, I need to start playing this now because of this hype servant. We've been looking forward to Arkui for such a long time. You don't want to be caught with your pants down when Alco comes out and you want to test her out over on JP. At the very least, you might have like, you know, let's say that Alco is an art servant, right? Like he's a single target arts gungliest bungliest servant, right? Like ready to just smack people in the face with big magic balls, right? You know, whatever she's gonna be, right? At the very least, you may not have Castoria, but you got, you know, Nero, you got Nero Bride, you could bring a friend Castoria, or whatever power crept version of Castoria we might have in the future when Alco does come out, and that way you can kind of test her out and be like, ah, okay, so this is kind of how she plays. So when she does come out on global, you're like, dude, I already know what to do, I already got it locked down, I already know how to like just crush stuff with Alco, you know, I'm ready to just get the work done. So I don't know, again, I don't want to feel like anyone, I'm being like, you have to play JP right now. Like I'm not like trying to like beat people in the head with like the play JP bug, but I'm like, it's not a bad idea, right? Because it's been like really new player friendly for like the last like, I don't know, like a couple of weeks, honestly, with like all of the campaigns they've been doing and the insane banners they've been rolling out. I mean, I just gotta say, if you're on the NA version, you gotta be watching out for like 2 years. Like when we get this like month for Christmas, it's just insane. Like we had like Muramasa come back, and Melusine, and Oberon, and Koyanskaya, and Nero Bride comes back, and it's too much. And then who knows who we're getting for like New Year's? I'm still betting on Richard because I'm betting that they planned that, you know, with the pattern, the Saber should be coming out this year because we had a Foreigner last year, and they were like, yeah, the like strange fake OVA is gonna drop, and then boom, we drop Richard, and then even though that got pushed back, I'm still like, maybe they'll still drop Richard. Maybe. If I'm wrong, I mean, I'm wrong. It could be, I don't know, who else would be like a hype Saber? I have no idea. I'm not gonna waste any more of you guys' time also turning this into like speculation, but just, you know, just take what I said in the video, just consider it, think about it. You got a couple of days, but yeah, that's all I really wanted to say, and that's all I really wanted to talk about. I'm still working on some of the tier lists and some of the prep stuff for next year, like the stuff that's like the next upcoming 2023 servers and stuff. So look forward to all that stuff. I will be just back on the content grind. I was really sick with like this terrible stomach bug, but I think I've got that done. I made it through this entire video and I didn't like upchuck anything. So I think I'm good. I think I'm not going to get game ended. I think I'm going to live. Here's fingers crossed, you know, fingers crossed. You know, I think I'm going to make it. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice rest of your day. Peace. Late, guys.